What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Jesse. This is Cadillac's Rod and Customs. So I've owned my Toyota for like 17 years now, something like that, and it's been leaking. The front axle on the Burfield joints and the outer knuckles have been leaking the whole time I've owned it. I don't like it. I've gotten to a point where I hate it. I don't want it to leak anymore. And I just bought brand new tires, so I don't want the inside of my brand new tire coated in grease. So, okay. Tire rod's off, and this shit dirty. Look inside there. So, we're going to start here with a 4mm and 12mm. We're going to attempt to get the hubs apart. I know this part doesn't apply to anybody who's actually looking to do this on a factory Toyota axle, because I don't run the ISN, however the hell you say it. I don't run the factory hubs. I should, because these warrants hang out about, I don't know, an inch and a half farther than the stock ones. But these things have a lifetime warranty, and they were on the truck when I bought it, so I'm not going to mess with them, you know. There we go. I have a 12mm bolt inside here, and these 6 on the outside. There, it's the inside of mine. It's in there bad, it's nasty. There's a nut and a lock ring and another nut in here. But before I get to that, hopefully you're smarter than me and you wear gloves to do this shit. I'm just in here finger banging my grease out of here, which probably not a good look, but I don't cool care. As shit. This is a 4-piston caliper, stock. These pins come out. You compress your caliper just a little bit, like you just have a screwdriver in there, walk it over, or whatever, and then the brake pad just slides out. Slicker than shit. Now here, I already took my screwdriver and walked the edge loose. I know I had a socket, but I didn't want to get in the truck and get the toolbox out and all that shit, you know. So this works just the same. And if you've been here for a minute, you remember when I did the disc brakes on the 14 bolt. This basically comes apart the exact same way. Nut, lock washer, nut. Very simple. Now, back the second nut off. It's the caca. But lucky for me, I have a parts washer. So I'll take all this shit, all this greasy, nasty, stinky shit, and I'll put it in my parts washer. And as far as like all the big parts go, like the steering knuckles, the knuckle on the axle, all that stuff, I'll actually just put it out in the driveway, soak it with some oven cleaner, and pressure wash the shit out of it. So we've made it to this point. I've used up all the free space on my towel. Wiggle a little bit, and that bearing should pop right out. This one's in good shape. I'm not worried about it. This washer is separate from the bearing. So it's bearing, washer, lock nut, lock washer, lock nut. It's not rocket appliances here, guys. I gotta get a rag. Anyway, once you get this bearing out, then your rotor and everything will just pull right out of there. And you're down to your bare spindle. Once you get down to this point, now we're going to need a 14 millimeter bolt for these, and then the backing plate and everything will come off. Well, once you get those 8 bolts out, this ring just comes off. Good seal in there. Well, it's not good anymore, but anyway. Then you gotta get these 4 bolts here on the top of the knuckle. Shit, you guys can't see what I'm doing. These 4 bolts or nuts here on the top for your trunnion bearing up here, and then you also have 4 down here on the bottom for your bottom cap, and that thing is caca for real, for real. Holy shit. Anyway, these 4, the bottom 4, and then we'll come back. Sorry, I lied to you. Before you take these off, and you have these 8 bolts out, you probably have to take, well, I wouldn't recommend using a screwdriver, but I used a screwdriver. And you got these flat spots here, front and rear, and I just kind of tapped it with a hammer a little bit, and your spindle comes off. And from this point, you can pop the axle out, but I'm not there yet. So, look at that grease. How thick that shit is. And in here you can actually just see it like hanging out everywhere. So I'm going to have to come in here and just scoop all that grease out and dispose of it. But I have to get this axle out before I can mess with those. Okay, now I have enough of the grease out of there that I can actually show you what I'm talking about. See down here, you got that flat spot there. You have that flat spot up there. If you rotate your axle, you'll see there's a flat spot on the top of it and the bottom of it, right here. Sorry, you can't really see it in there, but just take my word, there's a flat spot there. When your flat spot's up, with your bearing cogs in here, and then that axle should just pop right out of there. Might take a little bit of work, but let's see if we can get an axle out, shall we? See, mine's not lined up. A little bit. Like that. You gotta wiggle it up and down a little bit, and it pops right out. Okay, we're back. We are now officially on day 2. Could have gotten a lot more of this done yesterday, but my phone died, and I didn't want to continue working on this without documentation, because what's the point of making how-to videos on your YouTube channel if you're not actually videotaping? If you're not actually videoing your DIY stuff. So, we left off yesterday with getting the knuckles and the shins off, and the upper shins was, according to my caliper, 1.2 thickness, and the bottom was 1.15, which is super weird. They're supposed to be the same top and bottom as far as I know, but when I put it back together, I will make sure that it is the same top to bottom. But once you get that apart, get you a 10 millimeter socket and get these rings off back here in the back. They should not be very tight, and they're only supposed to be tight to like 8 foot-pounds or something stupid. I don't remember. But my pile of parts is growing rapidly, which is a good sign. Means we're almost done with disassembly. after I get all this shit torn apart, we're going to have to take these and soak them in some oven cleaner and pressure wash them. I use, I'm sure you guys have already heard this, 5 or 10 times, but I always use oven cleaner for my degreaser because it's cheap and it works really well. Spray it on there, let it soak 15 minutes. Well, 10 to 15 is what I would say. And then, hell, you can even use a garden hose. I used a garden hose when I degreased the frame and outside of this front axle, and it did just fine. Garden hose was just a nice, decent spray nozzle. These are 2-piece, so per the name, not the name, they come off in 2 pieces. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Sometimes they're easy. When they get to the last 2 or 3 threads, then they decide that they're going to be hard again. But close to having a knuckle out. Then we're going to come through and clean the ball up real good. Make sure there's no pitting or nothing funny like that. Because this is the perfect opportunity. If you do have pitting on your knuckles, this is your perfect opportunity to go ahead and fix that. I'm pretty sure I don't have any problems with mine because it gets used often enough and turned often enough that there's not really a chance for rust to form or to sit, because again they're full of grease, and I use it often enough that the grease, you can see stays on the ball, so it should be fine. Once you get your rings off, there's a cork style gasket here, and then this goofy rubber seal. After that, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but here's this plastic lock ring, and you're going to have to just work it around until it pops out. So, now, this thing, in theory, should be ready to come off. Make sure you take the top one out first. Obviously, you saw the way I did it. Picked up on the top, rolled it forward, and then pulled it down. Because your bottom bearing stays in your knuckle. Oh, shit. Now, get my mitts in here. Get all that grease out of there. And then, like I said, start soaking stuff in oven cleaner. And get it all cleaned up and ready for reassembly. Well, as you can see, we got them all cleaned. Pretty. Out here, sun tanning. Trying to dry them up. Now, I have to tape off where they sit in the bearings. And this is the perfect time to give all the parts that have to go back in on your front end a marketplace makeover. So that's what I'm going to do. I got some Rust-Oleum out there in the garage, and we're just going to spray them with some Rust-Oleum just to, cover the bare metal. I got to pop that seal out and change it. So, what are we doing?
We're working on the Toyota.
Yeah, but what are we doing to it?
Putting new axles in.
Not necessarily axles. We're doing seals.
Oh.
Where are we doing the seals at?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know? Where did I just put that seal in at? You just watch me put it in, but where did it go?
In the axle?
In the axle, yeah. Now, we're almost ready to put some of this stuff in.
That just looks like an oversized seal.
There's a whole bunch of them in here. So we gotta remember which ones go where and put all this together. And all of this stuff too has to go in there. I thought you were gonna do a bunch of talking. What happened?
I don't know what it was turning into.
You got camera shy on me?
That could.
Attempt number 2, since I dropped my bearing last time. It had to get completely cleaned out and re-greased and all that other shit. Now, hold the bearing in place. Slide your knuckle in. Now, after you get your knuckle up into place, take your bottom cap, sit it up in there. You may have to wiggle it a little bit to get it started. And watch inside to make sure that your shank gets on your bearing. It's a lot easier with a little hammer, but I don't have my hammer right here. So take one washer, one nut, just start them, just to hold everything in place. I gotta do the other two. Now I'm gonna have to turn off the video and look up the torque specs for the top and the bottom knuckle. Sorry, top and bottom bearing holder. For now, I'm just gonna grab a 17mm socket and tighten these in a crisscross pattern until it's snugged up. I'm not going to do it very tight, just enough to hold everything in place until I put the top cap on. So I'm going to grab my socket and I'll be right back. So as I was saying, just tighten things up in a cross pattern. Make sure, keep watching on the inside. Make sure that your bearing seats properly. Shit. I gotta take this all back apart. I forgot my chem pack. Thing I noticed it now, instead of after I got everything all tightened up and shit, because that would have been incredibly stupid. Here's my calipers. Measure out 1.2 worth of shims, 1.2 millimeters or whatever worth of shims, then put it back together. I measure 1.2 millimeters for the top and the bottom, by the way. I know it's hard to believe, but I actually do own a torque wrench. It's a pretty nice one. It's all gidgetical and fancy and stuff. So it's supposed to be 70 foot-pounds on these studs, which takes a long time to get there when you're using a gidgetical torque wrench. 70. because these are factory studs. They're supposed to be 70 pounds. If they were the heavy duty studs, it's like 81 or something. So it's a slow process because I don't want to hurt them or torque them unevenly, because that screws with your bearings a little bit. Creeping up on it. Over 70. About 70. Okay, so after about 10 different shim changes, that one thin, one thick shit was out the window so fast. After about 10 different shim changes, I finally figured out a set that actually makes it to where I don't have a pull scale, but this feels right, you know? It doesn't have that weird spring back to center shit it had when I took it apart, which I'm happy about. So now, when you get to this point, take your little metal ring here and make sure you get it inside this groove here. You'll feel it pop itself into place. Next, by your wiper seal. Wiper seal comes all the way up. And the felt. Shit, I gotta get my compressed air and make sure there's no water trapped in these holes from when I pressure washed it. Hold on. It's a good thing I checked that because there was a lot of water in 3 or 4 of these holes. Now, back to our regular scheduled programming. The wiper seal just sits in there like that, inside that groove as well. So, the felt comes up. Take your top ring, line it up. Got it backwards. Stupid. There, like that. Extra couple of bolts to start it. On your hole. You too good for your hole? There she goes. Now these, there's no way in hell my torque wrench is going to go down far enough, because these only have to be torqued at like 8 foot-pounds or some shit. So we're just going to go with the Lord on this one and let him tell me when to stop. See if that works. That one. That one. That one. Oh, also, when you get to this part, take a little bit of grease, run it around the inside of your seal, just so your axle doesn't go in there dry. Because it's okay to raw dog, it's just not dry. Now, remember the orientation of that burr field? In order to get it out, same orientation to get back in. Mazel tov. There's your baby. It's in. It's locked into the gear. The axle shaft is in. So, I just squeeze the tube. Just shove it in there. It is a nasty, goopy, messy job, but not much about this job has been, clean and sanitary to this point, so. Doing this part, make sure that you get it in all over the place. So cram it in around your burr field if you can. Get it underneath the burr field. Get it all over the damn place in here. Okay, once you get to this point, then you need one of your spindle gaskets. Okay, so seal, spindle, backing plate seal, backing plate. This is kind of a pain. Oh, just stupid. You don't need them vertical, or you need them vertical, not horizontal. Make my seal all wonky. There we go. Right there. Like that. Yeah. I should have bought the seals. Or the studs, I mean. But it's too late now. Already on the way back together, so put all 8 of my bolts in and snugged, and these are supposed to be torqued to 38 foot-pounds, so just do this in a crisscross pattern like any other bolts, Also, if you're like me and you don't have a seal puller, because every time I buy one I bend it or lose it or book it a first class ticket. Anyway, if you don't have a seal puller but you still need to get your bearings out, take one of your spindle nuts and start it on here. It's so much easier when you have the tool. But I put it on here far enough to make sure that I've got solid thread engagement all the way down, so the end of the nut is flush with the end of the threads. That way there's less chance of me muffing up the threads. Start your nut, pull your rotor out a little ways. You can feel it kind of hit your bearing, and just grab your rotor. There's your bearing, there's your seal. No damage was done, and now I can repack that bearing and replace that seal. Okay, bearings are packed back in. Now comes the fun part. You put your bearings in, put your washer in first, then your first nut. We'll both cut pretty much the same, and they're incredibly hot because they've been sitting outside in the sun. But finally had to break in and get the big socket out. this is subjective to what's right and what's wrong when it comes to tightening bearings down. Everybody has their own way to do it. This is my preferred method. So I go not like completely torqued, but tight. Spin it a little bit. Tight. Spin it a little bit. And then I come just a little bit off. And that should be just about perfect. You want to feel some drag, but not a ton. Wheel bearings are, as I said, subjective. That feels pretty good to me. See, some drag, but not a ton. Then, the Marlin kit comes with these new rings. Lock rings or whatever you call them. And your second nut goes in. Maybe. There she goes. Now your second one go tight. See? Now if you look in here, you see how these teeth, this one ends up perfect with that ear. This one not so much. That one no. This one is close. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and bend those ears down to kind of lock that nut in place. We are back. Time to put the hubs on. Now these blue gaskets are for your hubs. I did not realize the Marlin sent hub gaskets also, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time in my life I've ever actually had a gasket on a hub. I usually just, orange silicone it and send it. And when I took this thing apart to do the gears, it was full of orange silicone from when I put it back together that time. So, and these warrens have an O-ring seal as well, so the gasket really isn't even needed. It's just kind of a peace of mind thing, There she blows. Apparently I was just stupid. Pretty believable, actually. But you going hoverboarding?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. Let's see. Now, let's sink this big old washer into here. Just Alt to lock the hub to the end of the axle shaft. Tight.
Dad,
Huh?
can I be in the video?
I don't care. What do you want to be doing in the video? Okay, that's tight. Now, okay, there you have it. That is how you rebuild the burr filled section and the steering knuckle on a 79 to 85 Toyota pickup. It's not a hard job. It takes a while. It's very tedious. There's a lot of shit you got to pay attention to, but it's not a hard job. So if you're thinking about doing it, just dive in and do it. Just make sure you're gentle when you tear your knuckles apart so you don't lose your shims, because I did. I ended up using one of the ones I got from Marlin and one of the factory shims to get the right pull strength in it that I think is right. I don't know. I don't have a pull scale, but big news today. We hit 400 subscribers, guys, and I know it's still a small channel, a really small channel, but 400 subs means a lot to me. Anytime I cross off another 100, it's a huge deal for me. I get real giddy and excited about it for obvious reasons, you know. It's growing. It's growing consistently. It's not growing fast, but it is growing consistently, and I'm pretty happy about that. So from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for coming to hang out with me and watching me do the right shit the wrong way. It does mean a lot that you take time out of your day to come and hang out with me. So hopefully the videos just keep getting better and the projects keep getting better, and I film more shit and make more cool stuff, more videos. We're going to end this video here. I'm going to start tearing apart the driver's side of this truck now. So I'm going to do that off camera because it's dramatically faster. It took me 3 times as long to do this job as it was supposed to. Just video and stuff, you got to always pay attention to what's around you and where your phone is or your camera. And if, you know, you got to make sure you get the angle or whatever that you're looking at. It takes a lot longer than it's supposed to, but I'm doing it for you, you know. That's what we're in this together. This is a team here. So yeah, I'm going to end this here, and before I lose my daylight, I'm going to get back to tearing the driver's side apart. So thank you again, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, your dreams aren't going to work unless you're willing to. So go outside, take something apart, pay enough attention to learn how to put it back together. Love you, bye.